the Ultimate Freight Podcast. This is Joe Gianosa here with Ultimate Logistics Inc., here to guide you through these choppy freight waters. I mentioned last week how rates were kind of pulling back a little bit nationwide as far as refrigerated rates go because of produce season about to really start. Again, we are seeing unprecedentedly high rates right now throughout the nation, especially this year considering the environment, what we've been going through. But rates have been coming down. For instance, there was a 50% rejection rate across the United States as far as contracted freight went. So half of those contracts were getting kicked back to the customer, half of those orders, and them just saying, hey, we need more money to do this. We're not going to commit to these rates because of these unprecedented times. So that rate from 50%, that's pretty much a national average for refrigerated trucks, and that has gone down back down to an average of 40%. So you're seeing a couple of percentage points lower and lower throughout the weeks. We talked last week about the DOT week, how a lot of trucks were off of the market, so that kind of pumped up rates a little bit. And now we keep having these events that keep affecting the market, whether it's the economy or the Suez Canal being blocked. Produce, we can always count on that over the summer, but there's been a little bit of a delay because of the winter weather this year down in Texas, different places like that. So you're really going to start to see a produce pop here within the next week or so. You're already starting to see those in certain places like San Francisco market, the Fresno market, any other time of year, Los Angeles market, Ontario market, going up to the Bay Area would always be more expensive than to come back down because most freight is down in Los Angeles, and it's always cheaper for a truck to get to a place where there's more freight because they naturally just want to go there and will charge less to get there. However, this year we're seeing just as much freight coming out of Northern California as we do Southern California, so it's kind of crazy. Normally those rates would flip-flop, but right now they're kind of the same, and they're just high everywhere. So pretty much all of California, there's more freight being shipped out than there are trucks available to ship that freight. Another thing affecting rates right now with gasoline is these cyber attacks that are going on for the Colonial Pipeline. This has just started over the weekend, but basically there's a group, a cyber terrorist group, they think is from Russia, and what they do is they do ransomware, but they basically hold companies ransom by hacking into their system and saying, hey, if you don't give us a certain amount of money, then we're going to go ahead and do X, Y, and Z to your company, and it's going to cost you a heck of a lot more than that. The problem is with this ransomware is a lot of companies pay up, and so it's growing industry, this ransomware deal. I don't know if you're familiar with the Colonial Pipeline or how that works, but there's a lot of fuel and diesel fuel, oil, things like that, natural gas, all that stuff, it gets transported underground through these pipelines from Texas, and this is the Colonial Pipeline, going from Texas all the way through the southeast and up into all the way through the New York harbor. And half of the East Coast gets their gasoline through this pipeline. Jet fuel, diesel gas, regular petroleum gas for regular cars. It's going through this Colonial Pipeline. Colonial is a company. And so we've been doing these pipelines in the United States since the 1800s. It really popped off right after the Civil War, starting these pipelines, and it only started, with a few thousand feet basically of pipeline, and then as it got more sophisticated, it has been able to expand, and we have now 5,500 miles worth of pipeline just with this Colonial Pipeline. It actually pumps 100 million gallons of fuel through these pipelines per day. And it doesn't run very fast. Actually only goes like 4 or 5 miles per hour, starting in Texas. So if you wanted to get some fuel from Texas up to New York, it would take 2 or 3 weeks to actually get up there, but it eventually gets up there. So this company terrorist group, I should say, from Russia decided to contact Colonial. They did something, there's still reports coming out, they did something over the weekend where they're basically holding this pipeline hostage. And the Colonial Pipeline, Colonial got so scared, they actually shut down their pipeline themselves. And they are actually a company saying, hey, we're not going to pay you off. Maybe they asked for too high of a price, I have no idea, but Colonial basically said, we're not going to pay you off. We're going to shut down our own pipeline. And then they hired a third-party cybersecurity team to figure this situation out. But as of right now, it is shut down. Companies are getting a hold of this information, and people that trade futures for oil and barrels of oil, they're actually pricing this in. So gas was already getting expensive over the summer, and that's just natural over any summer. Typically gas is going to be more expensive because more people are driving. But now, as things open up because of COVID, the prices were already starting to get kind of nuts because of the demand for oil and gas, and you're seeing that reflected in diesel prices, and then you're seeing that reflected in the trucking prices because the cost of doing business goes up for these trucking companies. So the oil that gets shipped through this Colonial Pipeline that really handles 50% of the eastern seaboard's oil and gas needs, it's going to have an effect on gas prices. It shouldn't yet, but it already is, because people are trading futures in the stock market and things like that, and it's affecting the price per gallon and per barrel, and that gets reflected at the pump. Hopefully they get this situation figured out very quickly. I hope they don't pay these guys off so there's not more ransomware stuff going on throughout the country, but that's the news right now, and expect to see some higher prices at certain places. Like Greensboro, North Carolina is the #1 tanking facility where they pull natural gas and the oil and things like that and get trucks to transport it locally. The #2 tanking facility is actually Atlanta, so they're expecting those two places to be affected the most and around that area. So just watch out for that. As brokers, any broker will tell you, we do not like these high prices. We get killed all the time when it comes to booking your freight. We will take a load and say, you're transporting something from the Bay Area over to New Jersey, and you're paying, $10,000 to get that done. So we book a truck, let's say we book a truck at $10,000, and everything's ready to go, and then 2 hours before that truck bails. They probably found a higher paying load somewhere, but they say, oh, the truck broke down or whatever. Okay, fine. So then we got to go get another truck, and we're scrambling to get another truck. Typically it's going to cost a lot more than $10,000, but we take care of that because we already committed that to you. So in an environment like this, there's a lot of risk, and there's a lot of lost money on loads, and our profitability always goes down in a highly competitive market like this. So anyway, we don't like it any more than shippers do and our customers do. Hopefully the market will correct itself soon, and we can get things back to normal. Anyway, thank you for watching, and we will see you next week. See ya.